Hi everyone, welcome to The Walk. This is the second session of Encounters with Jesus called A Little Help from Friends. In this second session on Encounters with Jesus, you will meet a group of men who carry their paralyzed friend to meet Jesus. Their expectations for a physical healing, but the outcome of this encounter with Jesus was far more than what they expected. This story is in the book of Luke, chapter 5, verses 17 through 26. It's not recorded whose house this took place in, but it was in the city of Capernaum. Due to a large crowd outside, Jesus went inside a home to preach. As Jesus was speaking, some of the people closest to Jesus began to feel dirt raining down on their heads. As they looked up, they saw a patch of daylight begin to break through the ceiling. As they kept looking, it grew until they saw four sweaty-faced men proceed to lower their friend down on a stretcher right in front of Jesus. How do you stay on message when that happens? Without hesitation, Jesus surprised everyone by saying to the paralytic, "Friend, your sins are forgiven." It must have been a letdown, no pun intended, to the four friends who were still on the roof, because one of them had his head down through the hole so he could hear. The other guys were asking, "What did Jesus say?" He relayed, "He said that his sins are forgiven." "His sins are forgiven? Didn't he heal him? You mean we went to all this trouble of carrying him all this way, climbing up to the rooftop, and then digging this hole in the roof to lower him down just so he could get his sins forgiven? We expected a healing." All while this poor man was laying helplessly in front of Jesus. In that day, they didn't have wheelchairs, ramps, or handicap parking places. He couldn't dress himself or take care of his bodily functions, let alone earn a living. He had to beg for food and was dependent on his friends to carry him everywhere he went or needed to go. It would seem that this man's need was for physical healing. But first Jesus said, "Friend, your sins are forgiven." To heal the man's body would have made his life more comfortable, but without the forgiveness of his sin, his body might be whole, but his soul would still be broken. Jesus wasn't necessarily implying that the man's paralysis was a direct result of his sin. It may have been, but Jesus taught that not all suffering is due to sin, but alienation from God is. Forgiveness of sin didn't just heal this man's body, but more importantly, it healed his soul, his relationship with God, the total package of an abundant life. You see, sometimes a severe problem, a health problem, an emotional problem, a family problem, a financial catastrophe, can be the best thing that can happen to us, because these sufferings drive us to seek an encounter with Jesus. An encounter with Jesus doesn't just make our lives better, he makes us better at life. Looking back, I would bet that this man thanked God for being paralyzed, because if he wasn't, he would have never begged his friends to have this encounter with Jesus. These four friends were impacted just as much as the paralyzed man. They came as seekers and left as believers. They had a friend with a major problem that only Jesus could fix. And even though they encountered obstacles that would have stopped others, they persevered until they received from Jesus what they came for. Their faith was strengthened when they put their friend in front of Jesus. This is a great illustration of how we are called to do the same as we walk in the footsteps of Jesus. Have a great week, everyone. Love and miss you all.